Pontiacs are on the warpath today. How does 600 horses on pump gas sound to you? Today on Horsepower TV, we'll show you how to build a hot pump gas Pontiac 455 complete with forged pistons, Victor intake, and 1050 CFM carb. Then we'll test this iron engine on our horsepower shop dyno. In our race of the week, we'll follow a fast-moving family competing in 3 hot classes at the IHRA Empire National, plus examine some cool tools for your shop. So hang on for Horsepower TV. All right, welcome to the Horsepower Shop. For many of you, the GM A-Body is a popular platform for just about any kind of street machine buildup. And the Chevelles are out there in the largest numbers. We'll show you more of this beauty later on. But did you know it was the Pontiac GTO that launched the muscle car movement back in 1964?
Yeah, just take a look at this '69 Judge. Now, the carousel red paint and eye-popping graphics make this limited edition GTO a real attention grabber. And just check out what's under this Ram Air hood. What we've got is a 400 cubic inch thumper rated at 366 horse and backed by a Muncie 4-speed. Now, in 1970, Pontiac put a new chief in charge, the 455. Now, today we're going to show you how to build a 600 horse pump gas poncho using off-the-shelf parts.
Yeah, but first we need to make a trip to Jim Butler Performance down in Leoma, Tennessee. That's where they're machining the building blocks for our fearsome 455. Our freshly baked original block is line honed and bored 30 thousandths over and of course decked before it's ready for new parts. Meanwhile, here our 455's heads are ported, polished, and flow tested to give us 320 CFM and 28 inches of water. They're fitted with new valve guides. The new valves get a 3-angle 45-degree cut. The heads then are milled, cleaned, and ready for assembly. Now for the crank. Before balancing, its large rod journals are cut 50 thousandths to accommodate big block Chevy rods, and ultimately the stroke will be 425 versus the stock 421.
Now, once the block has been washed with good hot soapy water, you can begin the assembly process. Now, I've already dropped in the Federal Mogul mains and applied the assembly lube, and back here we're using a rope type seal that seems to work best with these Pontiacs. Now, when I install one, here's a little trick that I like to use. Use an old socket there to just roll the seal down in the receiver groove and seat it really well, and then trim it, leaving about 30 thousandths sticking up on each end. Then you can apply this non-hardening sealer. That way when we put the main cap back on, well, there's a little bit of crush there and it'll seal real well. Well, now we're ready for the crankshaft, which has been stroked by Lenati to 4 1/4 inches. Now, when you combine that with our 60 thousandths overbore, hey, we're going to end up with 474 cubic inches. We're using ARP studs on the mains, which means the centers will get torqued to 100 foot-pounds and the outers get torqued to 90. And back here on the rear main, we'll torque them to 120 foot-pounds. Now, once all that's done, you want to go ahead and spin the crank several times so you can seat that rear seal.
Now, the rest of the bottom end uses eagle rods and forged pistons from Ross Racing. Now, we ordered our Speed Pro Molly rings oversized so we could file fit them for the proper end gaps. Top rings are 20 thousandths, second rings are 14. Now, the Federal Mogul race rod bearings are clearanced at 2.5 thousandths. Okay, 75 foot-pounds. We can turn this thing over.
Well, our camshaft selection is crucial to getting big power from our big Pontiac. So we had Lenati grind up this special roller that specs out at 301 degrees duration with a 648 lift on the intake and 309 degrees duration with a 648-inch lift on the exhaust. Now, we had everything ground on 108-degree lobe separation for a strong mid-range. Now, the thrust plate sets the end play on the cam and keeps it from walking forward out of the block. Plus, it eliminates the need for a cam button.
To make sure our cam stays phased in properly, we're using this double roller timing set we got from Jim Butler Performance. The multiple keyways provide timing adjustments up to 9 degrees before or after top dead center. Now, previous testing tells us the Pontiac makes the most power at 4 degrees advance. So after degreeing in the cam, we made our marks to give us that, and we're ready to bolt this down.
You know, with a cam as big as ours and some serious seat pressure on those valve springs, well, this lifter valley area needs some reinforcement. So what we did was we got some bolt-in lifter bore braces from SD Performance. Now, not only did they tie in the entire lifter valley area, but they also let us run rocker ratios of up to 165. Hey, I got that drive shaft for that oil pump too, right here.
It might just need that. Now, the Pontiac has a pretty decent oiling system, but to make sure ours stays under pressure, we're going to use this Speed Pro high volume pump that's been modified with an 80 psi relief valve. It has a 3/4 inch inlet and a Moroso pickup welded to the body.
Now, our oil pan comes from Moroso too, and it's a 7-quart low-profile piece that gives us plenty of ground clearance, and it'll fit just about any Pontiac chassis. Now, on the inside is a special baffling that's going to help keep the oil down in the sump where it belongs.
Now, the final piece in our short block assembly is the timing cover. We're using a stock GM piece that's been fitted with a Mazier high-flow electric water pump. Now, for street use, both the motor and bearings are larger than their race version.
Man, that's a beautiful pump, but don't tighten it up all the way just yet. I've got a little trick that I want to show everybody after the break. Now, don't go away. We'll be back with more of our 455 Pontiac buildup right after this.
For the latest news on Horsepower TV, check us out online at horsepowertv.com.
Hey, welcome back to the Horsepower Shop, where it's time to finish the build-up on our 455 Pontiac before we strap it to the engine dyno. Hey, what was that trick you were going to tell us about?
For a leak-proof seal, you want to install the balancer before tightening up that timing cover. That way, the seal can center itself, then you can cinch everything down. Oh, by the way, that balancer bolt there torques down to 160 foot-pounds.
Great tip. Now, to make 600 horsepower, we're going to need some high-flowing heads. So we started with some of these Edelbrock Performer RPM heads and turned Jim Butler Performance loose on them for one of their street performance porting jobs. This will make them flow 300 CFM on the intake. Once the grinding's done, well, you can see the difference here on the intake. Of course, the exhaust gets the same treatment. Plus, they add a set of Faria stainless steel valves that measure 211 on the intake, 177 on the exhaust, set inside a polished 87cc combustion chamber. Now, these dual valve springs from Lenati hold them in their seats.
For head gaskets, we're using these Felpro Permatorques. Now, they'll compress to 43 thousandths, and with our flat top pistons and 87cc combustion chambers, well, they're going to give us a compression ratio of about 9.8 to 1, and hey, that's going to let us run pump gas in this ferocious 455.
Well, you could obviously run your mouth on no octane. Won't you help me here?
Yeah, gladly.
There we go.
After torquing the head bolts down to 95 foot-pounds, we drop in our roller lifters, push rods, and 165 rockers.
We're using Lenati roller rockers with our 455 and just lash the valves down to 24 thousandths. Now, to make sure they hold that setting, we're using this aluminum stud girdle.
Our high-flowing heads are going to need a good induction system, so what we're using is an Edelbrock Victor intake that's been ported to match our heads. Now check this out. Down inside there's a little turtle that Jim Butler Performance has added to help redirect that fuel-air mixture and give us a few more ponies. Now, because of the intake manifold's design, it requires a special valley tray that bolts in first. Of course, we're going to top the intake off with this 1050 CFM Holley Dominator carb, and we're going to add a 1-inch aluminum spacer. Now, this is going to give us a little more plenum volume and a few more horses.
There aren't many choices when it comes to distributors for these Pontiacs, so we're using the stock piece with an electronic upgrade so it'll interface with our Holley Annihilator ignition back there on the dyno. Now we'll finish it up with a set of their 9mm plug wires with these heat shields.
Well, I just relashed the valves, and once I get this cover tight, hey, we're going to be ready to make some power pulls.
We made it. 612 horsepower.
On pump gas at that. Now that's one potent Pontiac.
Okay, stay with us. We got more Horsepower TV coming up. Hey, welcome back to the shop. If 70s era muscle cars turned you on, well, just check out this 72 Chevelle restored and modified by the guys at carparts.com.
Yeah, now you know that I like Chevelles, especially with a big block like this one. Now they built it just like they did back in the 70s with a recalibrated quadrajet, plus a recurved axle distributor and their coil and wires.
And it was won by a lucky viewer, Russ Ippolita from Hebron, Indiana, in the carparts.com sweepstakes. Meanwhile, we've got some real winners when it comes to cool tools. In fact, here are some of the latest additions to our toolbox you might want to add to yours.
First, how about these ratcheting AN wrenches from Russell? Now, their special design lets you tighten AN fittings without removing the wrench and helps prevent over-torquing. Now, they're machined from billet aluminum and they have a clear anodized finish. Plus, they're available individually in sizes 6 through 16 or as a full set to help you keep your AN fittings sealed.
Well, keeping your air tool system sealed is a problem for many of us. A leaky seal like this one is not only annoying, it also cuts down on the efficiency of your tools. Well, now Prevost has got these leak-free couplings that are made of a high-impact composite designed for one-hand use, and they're compatible with most of the connectors already on your tools. Plus, they've got this push-button safety system that vents the air circuit before disconnecting to prevent hose whip.
Well, disconnected sockets is something we've all encountered working on our cars, but the Link tool system takes care of that problem with a positive latching mechanism that'll keep your sockets firmly attached even in the most difficult, hard-to-reach areas. Now, it's got a one-handed release, and the kit comes with a driver, ratchet, extension and sockets, and enough bits to do just about any job around the shop.
One job I hate around this place is when Chuck has me check the temperature of his headers with my fingers. Looks like I have two choices, scalded skin or one of these non-contact infrared thermometers from Raytech. They come in 3 heat ranges and they're great for checking header temperatures to get the right air-fuel mixture. Or they've got countless other uses around the shop or strip.
Hey, I can even use it to check the roast beef down at the all-you-can-eat buffet.
I got no beef with that, but our sponsors have a stake in this deal. Here's a word from them.
Horsepower TV's Race of the Week is brought to you by Edelbrock, the leader in automotive performance for nearly 75 years.
This week, New York International Raceway, where about 700 cars are about to compete in this year's IHRA Empire Nationals.
Oh, I love my job.
This CarQuest-sponsored event broke all records for spectators and drivers who came from all over the States and Canada, racing everything from pro outlaw drag machines to, well, this stock bug. And here is a bug on a bug. Now, as we've showed you before this season, IHRA competition is very much a family affair, and nobody knows that like this trio from Wayne, Michigan. Eddie Lyons competes in pro outlaw. His son Mike's a modified racer, and wife Patty is in quick ride. Eddie is a Ford Motorsports engineer who's been racing all of his life. Considering your background, I guess it's not surprising that we've got a whole racing family here working together, is it?
I suppose that's not too surprising. I dragged my kid out to the track when he was only 12 years old, and he started pit crewing for me early on and started driving when he was 16.
I have a great time when I come to the races. This is my social event, my outing. This is my chance to get out and meet my friends and hang out and have a good time.
Well, I taught my son everything he knows. Just tell him that. He loves that.
Yeah, that's pretty much true. Hopefully I've learned a few things on my own too.
Patty's the neophyte of the family racing team. Her dragster has a 514 crate motor which Eddie helped design. She says she had a little trouble getting her hubby out of the driver's seat.
He always, in the back of his mind, was going to put me in the car and him be the wrench. But as it went on, he got to liking it too much, and I could never get him out.
Quick Rods use a delay box to stay within their 890 index. On this qualifying run, Patty was a couple of hundredths too fast.
So what we'll do is put a couple more numbers in my delay box and try to slow the car down a little bit more. And hopefully I'll get up there and cut a decent light and maybe win that round.
This is your throttle stop. You're on your first and second stage times. That's your first one, that's your second one. If you wanted to do a down track stutter, you do your third and fourth. Have it come on at like 6 seconds into the run for so much time.
Like I got time to do all this, right? Jeez.
So anyhow.
Michael runs the 351 Windsor with several modifications in his dragster. Modified is a class he loves for several reasons.
True sportsman racing where there's no nitrous, you run on gasoline, your bottom bulb racing, no electronics. It's kind of an old-fashioned class.
So here on Sunday, the challenge for Patty Lyons is to cut a decent line and stay at or just below that 890 index for Quick Rod. So here we go with eliminations for the Empire National. So far this season, Patty's been trying to improve her reaction times. This time, she may have tried too hard getting the big red light in her first round.
I tried, but I guess I was too eager on the tree and I let the button go too early. Got a fat red light. So, but I'm getting closer, you guys.
It was small consolation, but Eddie lost his first round in Pro Outlaw too, not getting enough power from his blown small block.
So far, we haven't found a thing wrong with it, but there's definitely something wrong.
Okay, well, Michael, you're the last Lions in the hunt. How's it look?
Well, it's looking good. This is third round for me. Got a tough round this round. In fact, they're all tough from here. But if I can keep my head and be smooth on the tree, I got a shot.
In his first round, Mike was nearly perfect, running his opponent down with a 7.62 on a 7.61 dial-in. Round two, Mike wins again as his competition red lights. Then in round three, the younger Lions runs a 7.60, breaking out by a mere thousandth of a second.
Earlier today we had some wind, slight tailwind, and now we had none, so I didn't think it'd be any faster. It was every bit as fast. Oh well, you win some, you lose some.
Okay, let's flash forward to all the Sportsman finals. Under the lights, Mark Beaver's Mustang wins stock. It's Andy Bertozzi taking super stock when his opponent breaks out. Glenn Ferguson wins hot rod thanks to a red light. Then in super rod, it's Ferguson who red lights, losing to Bob Alaska. Fuqua fights to win quick rod by 11 thousandths. In modified, it's Bertozzi again in a double breakout. Rich Curry gets a free run winning top dragster. And another red light gives the victory to Elijah Morton in IHRA Top Sportsman.
And now Hot Parts, brought to you by CarParts.com. Everything for your car, truck, van, or SUV.
If you like to walk softly and carry a big stick, well then this 850 CFM Q-Jet from Edelbrock is the perfect carb for your sleeper. Now it's got a fatter idle circuit for those long duration cams and a larger needle and seat to feed enough fuel for over 500 horsepower. It also comes with an electric choke and will only throttle your wallet for about $460.
Well, of course, you got to get the fuel into your motor, and this Motown 215 head from World Products will help you do just that in your small block Chevy. Available in aluminum and iron, they feature 215cc intake ports and high-flow exhaust ports. Also, they have Manley valves, 208 on the intake, 160 on the exhaust. Now they've got these angle plugs for more efficient combustion. Prices start at $900 a pair.
Well, these Real Seal header gaskets from Flowtech will cure your header headaches. They're made from a multi-layered dead soft aluminum with a special coating to help them conform to surface irregularities. Plus they're reusable and they won't burn or blow out like most header gaskets do. They won't burn out your wallet either. Prices start at $35 for a set.
Okay, well, I have a burning desire to tell you about next week's show. Here's a look. It's out with the old, in with the new. 9-inch rear end, that is, in our 65 Pro Touring Pony. That is before we upgrade the suspension and bolt on new disc brakes. Our race of the week takes us to Cordova, Illinois for some hot streetcar racing in the heartland of America.
And remember, high performance fun is what this show is all about.
Now, do we make another run on the dyno?
For information about the products used in today's show and more, check us out online at horsepowertv.com. Horsepower TV is an RTM production.